Want to call the meeting of the Finance Committee to order, and the first is roll call.
Howell?
Here.
Zach?
Here.
Long?
Here.
Tubb?
Here.
Fleming?
Here.
Crawford?
Here.
Woodward? Bowman?
Here.
Middleton?
Here. We have a quorum. Next is pledge allegiance to the flag. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. I guess we should have changed the agenda because we don't have the minutes in our packet, and they're not quite ready yet. So we're going to skip approving of the previous minutes. Next is presentation of the agenda, and I need to add a communications D, and it's a legal notice for the City Council public hearing on establishing a commercial rehabilitation district under Public Act 210 of 205 as amended, and commercial rehabilitation exemption certificate application. So that's going to be communications D. It's on a blue sheet in front of everybody if they want to look at the details. Other than that, I don't have any other changes to the agenda. I'll accept a motion to accept the agenda as amended, Long and Fleming. Any discussion? If not, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, the same. Motion carried. Thank you. Next is the public comment. Is there anyone from the public that would like to address the Finance Committee this morning? Seeing no one, I will close public comment, and we will move to the contingency reports. I need a motion to receive and file the contingency report. Moved by Fleming, supported by Zach. Go ahead, Gail.
Good morning. On page 1 of the contingency report, which is page 3 of your PDF, you have a general contingency balance of $130,922. There are no items on today's agenda that affect that amount. And then on page 13, which is page 15 of your PDF, there's an updated West Nile virus report. And that's it.
And I'm just getting to it. On the West Nile, has most of that money been distributed, or, oops, I went too far.
About like 3/4.
Is that pretty
100%.
about right for this time of year? We should almost be all done with it, shouldn't
Well, I'm
we?
sure we'll get more invoices in September.
Okay, we have until December to. So, okay. Any questions on the contingency report? If not, all those in favor receive and file signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, the same. Motion carried. Next is communications. I need a motion to receive and file communications A, B, C, and D. Zach is moving it. Crawford is supporting it. Any questions on communications?
I had one, but I don't know where it is.
Economic Development had one in there for Dun and Bradstreet. I can't remember what the other ones were offhand.
Yeah, I had a question.
Business Information had a,
Yeah.
Okay, go ahead, Shelley.
I just wondered why the 3rd Division of 52nd District Court doesn't have this BIS system, audio-video system.
Right there, we got the answer.
Thanks, Jill.
Good morning, Jill Palulian, Court Administrator, 52-4 District Court. Ms. Taba, years ago, the courts had demonstrated 2 systems to them, BIS and JAVS. And the 3rd Division is on JAVS. They were the first court to go with the automated, when we changed from the old Sony reel to reel. So they went on first and they chose JAVS, and the other administrator, or the other court reporters came in later, their recording, and they selected BIS. They had a better price and the system, it's a good recording system. We've not had any issues.
Okay, just thought that maybe you could coordinate it all together, make it cheaper for the county, but
Well,
It's
that's
not
what you're
possible, I
doing, isn't
guess.
it?
Well, the 3 divisions are on it. The 3rd division has always maintained JAVs. It would be a bid process again for all 4 divisions.
okay, thank you.
Okay. Any other questions on communications? If not, all those in favor of receive and file communications signify by saying aye. Opposed, the same. Motion carried. Thank you. Next is, we go to the regular agenda, item number 1, prosecuting attorney fiscal year 2018 crime victims' rights grants acceptance. And it was in public service on September 12th, so. Need a motion? Fleming and Colwell. Okay, go ahead.
Good morning.
Morning.
The resolution approves the fiscal year 2018 reimbursement grant award from the Michigan Department of Health and Human Services to the Prosecutor's Office. The reimbursement originates from the Michigan Crime Victims' Rights Fund, which was established in 1989 to pay for mandated crime victim services. This is the 26th year of grant acceptance. The contract amount is $238,453 with no required county match. The award is increased $14,553 over last year's, and this grant reimburses the salaries and partial fringes for 4 victim services positions.
Okay. Any questions? If not, call the roll.
Zach,
Yes.
Long,
Yes.
Taub,
Yes,
Fleming,
Yes.
Crawford,
Yes.
Woodward,
Yes.
Bowman,
Yes.
Cowell,
Yes.
Middleton.
Yes. Motion carried. Thank you.
Thank you.
Next is item 2, Water Resources Commission. We got a blue sheet on item 2. Water Resources Commission 2017 Lake Level Assessment for Operation and Maintenance Resolution. Need a motion. Crawford and Bowman.
Good morning. This is our
Yes.
annual request for approval of special assessments against 29 lake level districts for a total amount of $400,000. This is to allow us to do operations and maintenance on these dam facilities because we're the delegated authority on behalf of the county.
Okay. Colwell has a question.
Just in general, I want to know how we're going to afford that budget busting 53 cents.
Okay.
And how did it come down to that?
That particular parcel is a road commission owned parcel. It's a vacant parcel, so by statute, it needs to be on the roll.
Yeah. And I had talked to Lynn when she was over in Water Resources. We had a 48-cent one come up, and I've razzed her for 5-6 years now on that. And then today I see the 53. She knew it was coming. So, but the blue sheet takes care of that actually. So, yes. So, any other questions? If not, call the roll.
Long,
Yes.
Taub,
yes,
Fleming,
Yes.
Crawford,
Yes.
Woodward,
Yes.
Bowman,
Yes.
Cowell,
Yes.
Zach,
Yes.
Middleton.
Yes, motion carried. Next is item number 3, Water Resources 2017, Chapter 4 Drain Maintenance Assessment Resolution.
Hold on a second, did you have to also approve the report?
Oh,
for that?
okay. The report that's on number 2?
The supplemental documents that were attached to the resolution.
Okay. So by just accepting this blue sheet, if number 2 didn't do it.
So usually you accept the report and then vote on the fiscal note.
Oh, report to amend, oh,
Okay.
yeah, we need a motion.
Okay, we need a motion to amend Colwell and Fleming. So, and that's this whole report then.
Yes.
So now we're going to amend this as a report miscellaneous, and it'll have a number when we get there. So, roll call on the report.
Taub,
yes,
Fleming,
Yes.
Crawford,
Yes.
Woodward,
Yes.
Bowman,
Yes.
Cowell, yes, Zach,
Yes.
Long,
Yes.
Middleton.
Yes, thank you, and thanks, Lynn, for keeping us straight on that. Okay, number 3, item number 3, Water Resources Commission, 2017, Chapter 4, Maintenance Assessment Resolution. Did I had a motion on that or not?
No.
We didn't get to that. Okay, so now I need a motion for item 3, Fleming and Long. Go
These
ahead.
are annual assessments against 79 drains under Chapter 4 of the Michigan Drain Code. We're required to come for approval of these special assessment districts to allow funding for a total amount of $388,000 for our operation and maintenance of these 79 drains.
Okay, any questions on item number 3? If not, call the roll.
Fleming,
Yes.
Crawford.
Yes.
Woodward,
Yes.
Bowman,
Yes.
Caldwell,
Yes.
Do we, wait, you had a question on that? Okay, well, I can halt we'll stop the roll call. Oh, okay, so we'll continue the roll call.
okay, Zach,
Yes.
Long,
Yes.
Taub,
Yes.
Middleton,
Yes, motion carried. Tab,
Yeah, I have a question. Whoop. I have a question. I received a phone call from someone I know who happens to live in Commissioner Zach's district, and I referred that person directly to the, do you have Berkeley, or does Dave have Berkeley?
Dave has
Oh,
Berkeley.
excuse me, I referred him to Dave. And I also,
Yeah, right.
and I also referred him to the Drain Commission, but it concerns Berkeley. They continually flood, and apparently the people in they've had 2 major floods now, not just one, and apparently the administration in the city of Berkeley tell them it's a responsibility of the Drain Commissioner. What is going on there?
Well, I can give you a brief update on that.
Go ahead.
With the rain event that we had a couple weeks ago, there was actually a special meeting in Berkeley
Yes.
that Commissioner Nash attended and some of our technical staff, and we worked with the city in developing an extensive PowerPoint presentation to show the situation and what had happened, the rainfall amounts, the area affected. So we're working very closely with the city administration, also the city engineering consultant, to look at what type of action should be taken to try to minimize this in the future. Right now, it's looking like from the rainfall numbers, it was one of those really intense storms that exceeded the capacity of the systems in that specific area, but we're going to continue to look into it and work with the community.
Well,
The-
good. No. My concern is that they had a major disaster a few years back, and why wasn't that taken care of then as opposed to waiting for them to have another flood? It involved Huntington Woods, which was absolutely horrendous. I know Helene remembers that very well. So I'm just concerned that, we're putting our finger in the dike after the dike's broken.
Steve, you want to comment, or you want, listen to Woodward, and then we might be able to put both things together, so.
Yeah. Well, I mean, related to that. So we're I think comparing 2 issues, but I think intensity of storms is the commonality. Obviously,
Yes.
a few years ago, we had a 300-year storm that came down. The George Kuhn Drain built for a 100-year storm event, and so it basically just came down too fast. The system just couldn't absorb. I might bring up the idea of trying to keep the first inch of water infrastructure. We had that kind of discussion 2 weeks ago. It's all related. This last event, and he didn't mention that, because I did talk to a resident. I'd heard about the recent storm, and I knew the community was convening a meeting. My understanding, and I turn to you to correct me, is that there was nothing on the George Kuhn Drain side. I mean, it was working at capacity. There was no overflow that it couldn't manage. The smaller pipes, the municipal drains, if you will, could only hold so much. The intensity of the storm, which for some reason sat over Berkeley. I live in Royal Oak, and even though it rained and some of our streets flooded and the system worked, there as appropriately, and I think there was little or no basement draining. There was no way for the water that dropped at that frequency of rainfall to move through the smaller pipes. And I believe that there is a kind of a very expensive and ambitious infrastructure plan in Berkeley trying to figure out how to build capacity there to kind of minimize these problems in the future.
Yeah, well
How'd I do?
said.
Okay.
Well said. That's
a
absolutely
pretty
correct.
good explanation.
Yeah, we're looking at rain gauge information, we're looking at National Weather Service information, the radar, so we can tell the intensity of storms, where it took place, what type of pipes and what size they were there. That's the study that's going on right now. Matter of fact, there is a meeting next week with all 14 communities with the George W. Kuhn Drainage District, and I'm sure this is going to be an issue that comes up. And definitely on the agenda is green infrastructure to try to introduce those concepts to those communities.
Okay, Helene?
I just want to address that the Drain Commissioner has been very responsive to working to my South End communities, particularly since 2014. And one of the responses that my little community, Huntington Woods, did, rather than spending our road millage dollars, we spent the money telescoping all of our different pipes so that we can see where there are problems, because there's been flooding, particularly in one section. And part of our renovation of a park plan is a storm retention system in our city. And that was part of our discussion a couple of weeks ago, is trying to incentivize that with the county, working collaboratively. So by no means is there irresponsibility on the Drain Commissioner. It is, we have old pipes. We need to refresh things. We need to look at green infrastructure to improve things. And I do feel for the residents of Berkeley. I know that they're being very responsive too, as to correct the situation, but it's not an easy fix.
No, I'm on the drain board, and whenever we fix pipes, it's not an easy fix, and it's always an expensive fix. So, okay, we kind of got off the subject, but I think we needed to cover those areas. So now we will move on to, we did 4. Okay, we're on item number 4, Water Resources Commissioner 2007, Chapter 18, Drain Maintenance Assessment Resolution. Need a motion. Crawford and Woodward. So, go ahead.
We're requesting approval for special assessments for 74 Chapter 18 drainage districts. These districts are exclusively in Oakland Township and West Bloomfield Township and go against the residents in those areas. And the total cost is $266,000 for our operation and maintenance activities.
Okay. Any questions? If not, call the roll on item number 4.
Crawford.
Yes.
Woodward.
Yes.
Bowman.
Yes.
Colwell.
Yes.
Zach.
Yes.
Long. Todd.
Yes.
Fleming.
Yes.
Middleton.
Yes. Motion carried. Thank you. Next is item number 5, and we have a blue sheet on number 5. Department of Central Services lease vehicle donation of 2 Dodge Durango special vehicle service vehicles. Need a motion. Crawford and Fleming. So, go ahead.
Good morning. I'm Todd Burkle, Manager of Support Services, and we're here today seeking approval for the acceptance of a donation of 2 Dodge Durangos that the vehicle operations in the Sheriff's Office used for a couple of years in some testing with Fiat Chrysler. And the original agreement, the vehicles were going to go back to Chrysler, and we approached them about actually donating them to the county, and they agreed to do that.
I thought it was odd that it's a donation, but we were selling the vehicle before we got it donated to us. But you pretty much had that agreement that we could sell it at the auction.
Right, exactly, and it was sold at our spring auction here at the county.
So they could have requested that money if,
or the vehicle returned.
Yeah. So
They actually approved transferring title over to the county prior to the sale.
yeah. So okay. We wouldn't want to get the undersheriff in trouble at all. So okay. Any questions on 5? If not, call the roll on item number 5.
Woodward.
Yes.
Bowman.
Yes.
Colwell.
Yes.
Zach.
Yes.
Long.
Yes.
Todd.
Yes.
Fleming.
Yes.
Crawford.
Yes.
Middleton.
Yes. Motion carried.
Thank you.
Next is item number 6. Department of Health and Human Services, Health Division amendment to the Oakland University REACH grant contract. Need a motion. Long is going to support it, or Long is making the motion, Fleming is supporting it. So, go ahead, Kathy.
Good morning. This is to approve funding that we would receive from the REACH grant, which is a federal funding opportunity that actually comes into Oakland University. They've had it for a number of years. We've partnered with them on it, and they fund us in order to pay a full-time public health educator to implement some programming and oversee initiatives to reduce chronic disease in the city of Pontiac. Some of those activities include neighborhood produce access, non-motorized transportation plan. They're doing work on that. Smarter lunchroom strategies in schools, also in St. Joe's, and hopefully soon to be implemented in McLaren Hospital as well. They're working with convenience stores in the city of Pontiac to provide nutritional opportunities for those that don't have access outside of the city of Pontiac for food. And then they're working with Pontiac Parks on a master plan to update their master plan, which will assist all of us in the future as we look for grant funding to support improvements in the parks in the city of Pontiac.
How is it that Oakland University, did they get the REACH grant?
It's a research grant. It was a grant that we originally had thought about applying for out of the Health Division. But because it was a research grant, required a very strong research component, we encouraged Oakland University to go after this grant with us as a partner. We wrote it together, and we knew that, that this was going to be a good partnership in the city of Pontiac.
Within Oakland University, what school?
Health Sciences.
Oh, okay.
And they apply a lot of resources. Their students in both their MPH program, and there's another program where their students take on projects in the city, and you may have heard about them from time to time, but we all work very closely together on this project. It's an enormous success.
Yes, Commissioner Bowman.
I just wanted to chime briefly and related to this grant and really its impact. And take note on a word specifically that you noted, which was partnership. This grant allows for a partnership with not just Oakland University, but Pontiac, utilizing Healthy Pontiac we can, through facilitating, as you noted, healthy produce and implementing that within the cafeterias in locations that most people utilize specifically. You spoke of McLaren as well as St. Joe's, and I've been working towards making sure that is facilitated and inclusive of reaching out to the community. So I just wanted to note that that partnership with Oakland University and Pontiac is strong, it's viable, and I am definitely in support of this grant and its funds and have seen its impact. So thank you.
Thank you.
Any other comments? If not, we'll vote on item number 6. And being I butchered it the first time, I'll read it again. Amendment number 1 to the Oakland University REACH grant contract. Call the roll on item number 6.
Bowman?
Yes.
Howell? Yes. Zach?
Yes.
Long?
Yes.
Taub?
Yes.
Fleming?
Yes.
Crawford?
Yes.
Woodward?
Yes.
Middleton?
Yes, motion carried. Next is Department of Health and Human Services, Health Division, Oakland Intermediate School District, Great Parents, Great Start, and Home Visitation Grant Acceptance. Fleming is moving it. Taub is supporting it. So go ahead, Kathy.
So this grant will provide us with $31,500 for the opportunity to purchase educational supplies and materials that are vital to 2 of our programs, Nurse Family Partnership being one of them, which is an intensive home visitation program for first-time mothers in their first trimester, and it stays with them through the 2nd year of the life of their child. And they bring them supplies and materials that are important to the education of that family in terms of ensuring the success of that baby. And the other program that utilizes these supplies would be the Nurturing Parenting Program, where we have nurses that are implementing one of maybe 80 modules that we have that support teaching parents in a 16-week module where they go into the home once a week, teaching a parent about how to be a good parent and nurture that child, teaching them what can they expect from that age, because we have modules from 0 to 18 years of age. What can they expect from that age, and how can they best manage it? What's appropriate discipline? And this is really focused on childhood abuse and neglect, and it has been well recognized. It is an evidence-based program in improving that situation. Also, it includes $126,000, which will enable us to have another nurse, Public Health Nurse 3, added to the Nurse Family Partnership Program. This enables us to provide those services for the first time, which we've been trying to implement for years in the south part of our county. Prior to this, we've been confined to only using this program in Pontiac. That's what we've been funded for. Now we can go into a number of communities in the south end, which we believe has a number of high-risk families that we are really looking forward to supporting.
Commissioner Zach.
I just want to say kudos and thanks. These early education programs that have been around for a while are the best investment that we can make in making a difference. They save millions of dollars later on when you can intervene early. So
There is a lot of evidence to support that.
Thank you, and I'm glad you're coming to my end of town.
I was wondering if one of those modules warned parents when the kids became teenagers, they eat and eat and eat. The food budget really gets changed.
We do have some very good teenage modules.
Okay, Commissioner Bowman.
I wanted to make note that these programs, realistically, they do more than just save money. They tangibly save children's lives. I've recently been sitting on the FEMA review board, which is the fetal infant mortality review board, which takes note of the reasons and implications as to why children basically pass.
Right.
And a lot of it relates to education, lack of education of mothers, young mothers, specifically within Pontiac. And I'm just going to make note that I think that there needs to be additional funding supported for these home visiting nursing to help educate these new mothers and really to save lives. So I wanted to just add that additional note.
Okay, thank you. Anything else on item number 7? If not, call the roll.
Cowell?
Yes.
Zach?
Yes.
Long?
Yes.
Todd?
Yes.
Fleming?
Yes.
Crawford?
Yes.
Woodward?
Yes.
Bowman?
Yes.
Middleton?
Yes, motion carried. Thank you. Next is Department of Health and Human Services Health Division interlock agreement with Oakland Community Health Network for substance use disorder prevention services, a grant acceptance. And Zach is moving it, Todd is supporting it. So, go ahead, Kathy.
So this interlocal agreement funds 2 public health educators, what the work that they're doing is really life skills training in the community. They will be implementing and have been implementing the Botfin Life Skills Parent Program, which helps parents strengthen communication with their children and prevent them from using drugs through workshops and educational materials. This is done, and the other thing that they're doing is the Botfin Life Skills Training Transition Program, which helps young adults transition into workforce or higher education. The Botfin Life Skills Training Elementary and Middle School Program, which they've been conducting successfully and have had a waiting list in the elementary and middle schools. They are conducting the Safe Dates program, which is the only evidence-based curriculum that there is that prevents dating abuse. They're also doing the Photo Voice project, which is tremendously useful because it asks kids the question, what makes you feel safe and what makes you feel not safe in your community? They take a camera and they go out and they take pictures in their community, and then they come back and discussion is developed around those pictures. It elicits discussion. Sometimes these are hard discussions to have with children. They don't know how to articulate it, but when you ask them to take a picture of it, it starts a dialogue. So it's very successful and very well received in the community. And the other thing these two health educators are doing is the WITS primary program, which stands for Walk Away, Ignore It, Talk It Out, and Seek Help. And they provide children and school staff and parents with developmentally appropriate conflict resolution strategies for handling peer conflicts. So that's what this funding is doing in your community.
How do they get an audience? I mean, what's the health network? Do they work with the schools?
They work with the schools. They work with community groups. They're working with coalitions, and they're really getting the word out because the list that are signing up is growing by the day.
Any other questions on item number 8? If not, call the roll.
Zach?
Yes.
Long?
Yes.
Todd?
Yes.
Fleming?
Yeah.
Crawford?
Yes. Yeah.
Woodward?
Yes.
Bowman?
Yes.
Cowell? Yes. Middleton?
Yes, motion carried. Thank you.
Thank you.
Next is item number 9, Health and Human Services, Children's Village Division, 2017-2018, National School Lunch Program Grant Acceptance. Zach is moving it, Fleming is supporting it. So, go ahead.
Good morning. This is one of 2 meal reimbursement programs that Children's Village participates in. They're funded by the United States Department of Agriculture and administered by the Michigan Department of Education. This program provides breakfast, lunch, and after-school snack reimbursements for kids that are placed in secure detention and in our residential treatment programs. The amount that we'll receive is unknown because it'll be dependent on the amount of meals and snacks we provide. Last year, we were reimbursed $281,724. The funding period is July 1st, 2017 through July 30th, 2018. And we received the highest amount of reimbursement possible because we provide multi-grain products and low-fat milk.
So the purpose of this resolution is to be able to cash the check when it comes?
To be able to accept the reimbursements.
Okay. Are there any other questions? And we're not reimbursed 100%. There's just
We
a
are
percent. Yes. So I see it was 800,000 last year, and we got 200,000 reimbursed. 800,000 cost.
Right.
And 200,000 reimbursed. So, okay. So it'll probably be about in that range again this year.
Yes. It'll probably be very close to that.
Okay. Any other questions on 9? If not, call the roll.
Long?
Yes.
Todd?
Yes.
Fleming?
Yes.
Crawford?
Yes.
Woodward?
Yes.
Bowman?
Yes.
Cowell? Yes. Zach?
Yes.
Middleton?
Yes, motion carried. Thank
Thank
you.
you.
Yeah, those aren't your permanent seats there. You have to give them up to the next people. Next, number 10, Economic Development and Community Affairs Resolution, approving the provisions of a brownfield plan amendment for the Iron Ridge Project, City of Ferndale and Pleasant Ridge. And have we got there's a blue sheet on that.
Do we have a commissioner from there?
Zach is moving it, and Todd is supporting it, and there's a blue sheet for information. So, go ahead.
Good morning, Brad Hanson, Senior Business Development Representative with Economic Development. In front of you this morning is an amendment to a brownfield plan which this body took up in July for the Iron Ridge project. It was passed and went through the Board of Commissioners in the public hearing process and passed. At that point, it went to the state of Michigan to capture state school taxes for the brownfield. And when the state reviewed the 381 work plan, they noticed 3 parcels in the plan that were not yet merged, so they were not considered adjacent or contiguous to the facility or the contaminated parcel. So they wanted to see those parcels removed. And so that's what we have in front of us, is this basically the same brownfield plan removing of 3 parcels on the Ferndale side.
Okay, and the blue sheet information on item 10 explains that to us. So, yeah, and gives us the background.
That's the
Resolution. The blue sheet is from the OCBRA, the Oakland County Brownfield Redevelopment Authority. We met on Monday, and there are some changes to the resolution. So that's basically what the changes in the resolution is.
Okay. Any other discussion? If not, call the roll on item number 10.
Taub,
Yes.
Fleming,
Yes.
Crawford,
Yes.
Woodward,
Yes.
Bowman,
Yes.
Kowal,
Yes.
Zach,
Yes.
Long,
Yes.
Middleton.
Yes, motion carried. Thank you.
Thank you.
Next is item number 11, Facilities Management Amendment to a Lease Agreement with the City of Troy for 52-4 District Courthouse to extend the terms for 15 years or to exercise the option to extend the current lease for 5 years. Wade is, Fleming is moving it, Crawford is supporting it. So, okay, it's before us. Go ahead.
Good morning, Jody Hoff from Corporation Counsel. I'm gonna take this lead. I've worked on this project, and then there's Paul Zakos and Art Holdsworth. This matter is before you today to amend our current lease we have with the City of Troy to extend our lease out 15 more years. We have an existing lease with them, began in 1992, and it's set to expire in about a year and a half. So we did an option of either extending our lease for 15 years or exercising our option. Actually, Commissioner Fleming might be able to speak to this, but Monday night, City of Troy voted to accept our proposal to amend the lease for 15 years.
Okay.
So once this is approved by the Board of Commissioners next week, we'll have the amendment signed and the City Council will sign it.
Okay. Commissioner Fleming.
Yeah, this was really important that the legal department get ahead on this one, because what's happened in the City of Troy, there's some ballot language coming up in November, basically stating that any project or any acreage over 2 acres could not be leased or rented or sold or anything without a vote of all the citizens at a regular election. So that would really tie the hands of everybody. It's really having, I think, some unintended consequences in Troy to restrict the hands of the city council and city administration to not to be able to do anything with properties of 2 acres or larger without a vote of the people. So we got ahead of this one, and I don't think that amendment will pass, but we're ahead of it just in case. So this is a good thing to do.
Okay. So the way the results of this resolution, we just ignore the 5-year extension that's already in the contract. We're opting for the 15 years, the renegotiated contract, basically.
Yeah, but I still want you just to vote on it, just in case something happens real funny. So like they get it and they won't sign it. So we'd still like it to go through it as it is written.
Mm-hmm.
And then, but the plan is right now, based on the actions of City Council, that we'll sign the amendment.
Okay. Okay. Any questions on 11? If not, call the roll.
Fleming,
Yes.
Crawford,
Yes.
Woodward,
Yes.
Bowman,
Yes.
Kowal,
Yes.
Zach,
Yes.
Long,
Yes.
Taub,
Yes.
Middleton.
Yes, motion carried.
Thank you.
Next is item number 12, Facilities Management, Facilities Planning and Engineering, Children's Village Mandy's Place, Bedroom Redesign Project. Cobb is moving it, Cowal is supporting it. So, and this was, we have a blue sheet on item number 12. So we will, what we vote on will be the blue sheet, the information in it. So, it was before Building and Planning last week, no problems?
No, passed unanimous.
On Tuesday.
Okay, so go ahead.
All right, good morning. Ed Joss, Manager of Facilities Planning and Engineering, here with Jody Overall from Children's Village. The resolution before you is for the Children's Village Mandy's Place Bedroom Redesign Project. The project will take place on the main floor of the H building and will affect both the boys and the girls wings. The project will divide the existing larger sleeping areas into multiple smaller sleeping areas. We will also be relocating one laundry room, adding one additional laundry room. There's approximately 3,000 square feet of the building that's affected. We use one of our annual construction managers, Frank Rewald & Son, to bid the project. The project's estimated at just under $400,000. In your packet, you have a campus map showing the location of the project as well as a breakdown of the project estimate. And maybe Jody can speak to the need for the project.
So this will be very much beneficial for our programming and shelter care. Sometimes we have high numbers of children in there, and this will allow us to better place them with a strategy in mind as far as their individual needs, any emotional issues that they have or behavioral issues. The kids in Mandy's Place are pretty much high needs, high risk, so this will allow us to spread out and really make some strategic moves in where we sleep kids for the night. We have currently on each wing, we have 5 or 6 single rooms, but we also have 2 dorms that have 5 or 6 beds in each of them, and that just doesn't work well for trying to give kids the individual space that they need. So these individual rooms will have bunk beds in them, so we actually will increase our bed space just slightly. Not that we will fill to that capacity, but it will just give us more room to determine how we're going to sleep kids.
Okay. And adding the laundry room doesn't reduce the number of beds you're going to have?
No, and that will be another excellent improvement because now it's in the basement. We like to have the kids help with that. Now it'll be upstairs on the main floor. So when the kids, during programming, the kids can help, and over the midnight shift, the staff will be able to get the bulk of it done.
Okay. So, Commissioner Top.
Thank you very much, Jody, and I do support this. I have just one quick question. When you have families come in, say 2 little girls, do you try to keep them together in a bedroom though?
Yes, we do. And that's all part of the strategy. We have boys and girls, we have babies, little kids, teenagers. If we can put siblings together, or we have siblings that we want to put together, this will allow us to do that. And it gives us more latitude to sleep kids just based on also ages. I mentioned behaviors, but also ages.
Yes, Commissioner Bowman.
I've just got some curiosity kind of behind the process in determining how the facility will be laid out. I know even with our animal shelter, we went through quite a bit of scrutiny and where things would be placed and how it would be laid out. I'm just have some curiosity in how you determined that.
Ed might be able to give you specifics on that, but I can say from a practical point of view, we're doing great things with limited options because the building is existing and it's cinder block. So really, we're leaving the building intact as it is, taking these 4 dorm rooms and just subdividing them into individual rooms.
And then there is, as mentioned, the existing laundry room in the basement, and we will be relocating that upstairs and putting it at the end of one wing, and then the additional laundry room that we're adding goes in the other wing of the building at the other end, so that there'll be a laundry room right next to each of the sleeping areas.
So the breakdown of the sleeping spaces, it seemed to be more conducive for, you noted the interaction with the individuals and group planning. There's going to be some laundry days. It seemed that there would be some additional kind of thought and scrutiny in how you're grouping the children with the expenditure and the layout of the facility. But it seems that it's appropriate, so I thank you for that information.
Okay, any other questions? If not, call the roll on item number 12. This is the blue sheet that's before us. It kind of separated from different funds to come up with the same amount of money. So, okay, item number 12, call the roll.
Crawford?
Yes.
Woodward?
Yes.
Bowman?
Yes.
Kowal?
Yes.
Zach?
Yes.
Long?
Yes.
Todd?
Yes.
Fleming?
Yes.
Middleton?
Yes, motion carried. Next is item number 13, Department of Information Technology, modification to the Comprehensive IT Service Interlock Agreement. Need a motion. Kowal and Top. Go ahead, Phil.
Good morning, Commissioners.
And we have a kind of a light blue sheet.
Yeah, it's kind of a blue, but light blue, right. Commissioners, I have Tammy Shepard, our Chief of Application Services, and Mike Tim, our Director of Information Technology. And what we have in front of you is we have interlocal government agreements to provide services to other governments, and that's what we do. What we needed to do was modify the agreement to include 2 new exhibits. One for security assistance, in other words, cybersecurity, where Chris Burrows and the security team may go out and provide support, not really support, but guidance and advice for the people on what they need to do in their local municipality. We wanted to make sure that was an option to be able to handle. And if it gets over a certain number of hours, we wanted to be able to charge for that if need be to recoup some of our costs. The other is the CAMS initiative, which is our collaborative asset management system, where we provide technology out to other governments in regard to what they do with their infrastructure, whether it be water, sewer, roads, whatever they want to put in. And Tammy's here to answer any questions on that if needed. But these are simply additional services we want to include within the interlocal government agreements. And there is a definition that was changed in the interlocal government agreement on page 3 of your blue packet, was we put confidential information, a definition of confidential information in the agreement. Because of the cybersecurity pieces, we have to make sure that we maintain strict confidentiality when we're working with them in regard to cybersecurity needs. If anyone has any questions for us, we'd be happy to answer those at this time.
Yes, Commissioner Zach.
So my question at this point is fees. So previously, we were doing things, we were helping our communities as consultants. And as I read this agreement, you're going to be passing on costs to our
It
local...
depends on the hours. If I remember, and I apologize, I don't remember which one it is, but it was after 8 hours. What we don't want to do is get into a prolonged engagement with a local community and not be able to recover our costs for doing so. We help a great deal, and we'll do consulting all the time, but we're just worried that if we get in and it's so bad that we have to bring the troops in to come in and fix something over time, there's going to be a cost associated with that. Many of the local governments, by the way, when it gets to that point, we worked with Groveland Township. We've also worked with some other small communities. They don't have a problem with that. They're more than happy to make sure that they get the right expertise in the building. And we don't just do that willy-nilly. We won't just say, hey, we're going to charge you for every minute we're there. But we want to make sure that we have a mechanism in there in case we need to.
So does the contract specify, I was looking for that over 8 hours you'll be charged at such and such?
It does, and I apologize. I just didn't have it highlighted. I'm looking at the blue one.
I did not see that clearly.
We can look for that for you, and then it would be in the exhibit itself for each function. So if you look at the security exhibit, and where is it?
No, I didn't see that.
There is no fee schedule yet, because we have...
I know, but...
Up to 8 hours of actual costs.
Yeah, what
It's on the
page?
last page.
The last page of the exhibit for the cybersecurity.
Okay.
If you look, it's the very last sentence, I believe, and it talks about page what? Page 16? Thank you, guys.
16 on...
15 or 16?
It's going to be...
Keep going. You're still in the interlocal.
Yep.
We only have the interlocal, they don't have the...
Oh, I'm sorry. They don't have the exhibit?
Oh, thanks.
Yeah.
433 they're talking about.
Yeah, page 16 of the original item. Page
Okay, so it's not PDF, okay.
433, thank you, Laura.
Okay.
And what it states is that we will waive up to 8 hours of actual costs.
Oh, okay.
But we want to be careful that if it gets prolonged, that we aren't out there for too long without having the ability to charge if we need to.
Okay, Commissioner Top.
Okay.
Commissioner Zach.
Okay, I just wanted to see that
So
it was
you don't-
clear, thank you.
I don't see a fee schedule yet. You're gonna come to us with a fee schedule?
We
or-
actually use the hourly rates of the employees that are involved. So whatever the rate that it costs us.
Does it say that in this? It's just,
It says responsible for the actual cost.
It's just actual cost is what it says in the agreement.
Okay.
And then we talk to them ahead of time. We don't do 8 hours and say, oh, by the way, we're an hour 9. We're going to go ahead and charge you. We're talking to them ahead of time. And in many cases, it's a mutual agreement that we should stay a little longer. Now, what we have done for some communities, which I think is good on our part, we bring a cross-functional team in. So it's not just security. Sometimes we'll bring in our network people or our server people. We want to know what's really going on. And we've been able to help them, and we actually help them find the right vendor then to support them. So we talk to the IT companies and make sure they have the right protocols in place, service level agreements. They do a good job for other people. We even do some of that work for them to make sure they have the right people.
Continue, Commissioner Topp.
Yeah, my one concern is that we could end up with some itty-bitty place in Oakland County with a few thousand residents who just don't have the funding. Is there any way that we can kind of promote them either getting services directly from the county, in other words, we'll just do your thing for you and you pay us, okay, or combining with another small municipality? Because this is getting, I mean, I don't think any of us really thought this out 20 some odd years ago, that we would have the security problems that we have now.
Well, we have been
And I mean,
advising.
Equifax is
We've been
just-
advising. Oh, that Equifax piece, by the way. That's a serious breach. 143 million records.
Yeah.
And by the way, the site that you go sign up to had a problem. So what we're doing is we're monitoring the site to see if they fix it, because our security people recognized when they were reading about it that there was an issue that it had. So I've told my family members to not enroll yet.
Yeah, well, it's
but
too
to
late for us.
Well, but the good thing is I think they're fixing it right away. If they don't fix it, then the house of cards will collapse on them, and they need to do that.
The saddest part is that all those executives knew about this and sold their stock. That makes me very angry.
There's a bunch of problems with all that. Now, interestingly enough, though.
Okay, let's give
if
Phil
I
our
could,
attention. Yes, go ahead.
This will be germane to the
Yeah.
issue. There's so much cost involved with fixing that breach. That's what we're trying to protect against here. It's right now, the last number we heard was around $220 to $240 per record. Take 143 million records times $240. You just see it's a massive undertaking.
Yes.
That's why we're working so hard. That's why we're working with the local governments to make sure they have what's needed in place to protect them. Now, you mentioned earlier about the itty-bitty small ones.
Yeah.
They don't have much. So what we're able to do, matter of fact, many of them use our services already.
Okay.
And so what we do is if they don't have much, we don't have to spend a lot of time figuring it out. So there's not a worry that we're going to have somewhere that has 3,000 residents, we're not going to be able to help them. The problem we have is we have to have the governments engage and invest. It's not something they can ignore. They can't put their head in the sand and think this is going to go away. We counsel them on that. We work with them on that, and we show them what the issues are. And the eye-opening is it's an awakening for them, but we work hard with them to make sure it gets fixed. Because they're connected to us. We don't want to have a problem as well.
And I imagine there's going to be vendors coming out of the woodwork to try to help these people, and you can kind of give them some guidance.
We help guide them there because vendors will come out and say,
ask.
vendors will come out and say, I would love to assess your cybersecurity needs. Well, so they could sell you their products. What we do is we have assessment SciSafe, which I shared with you all before. It's free, and we'll do it with the local communities to make sure it's done right, and then they can then go hire the vendor that does the specific thing that they really need.
Okay. Yeah, Commissioner Topp, you done?
Yes.
Okay, Commissioner Woodward, and then Commissioner Zach.
So we do the assessment free. Is that part of the 8 hours?
We guide them through it.
Okay.
What we do is it's free. It's downloadable. We download it off the G2G marketplace. It's all in Excel.
Okay.
So it's not proprietary, and we give it away freely. It's been downloaded all over the country. But we actually consult with them. If they're running and they don't know how to do it, our cybersecurity people will get on the phone with them and say, what do you have? Here's what you need to mark. And the whole assessment only takes about an hour. So it's not a huge undertaking for us to ask the right questions. The problem is they may not know what they have. That's the big worry, because many of them don't have technology people. They're just trying to make it work. And then that's where we need to help guide them as best we can.
And that's not really a part of this, though.
Yeah,
that's what I'm trying to like to stick.
This is a formal engagement. We do that consulting
So you do
over
that.
the
So
phone all
that
the
wouldn't
time.
that wouldn't
That's not
cut
even,
into the 8 hours.
This is if they need us to come in and do a deep dive on their cybersecurity and then consult with them.
So, I mean, my next two questions, like, so we landed on like waiving the first 8 hours. How do we land on 8 and
because
not 10,
that's
or-
about usually all it takes for us to do some of this work. We have not been brought in and engaged for 40 hours for an issue. We have gone out and helped other governments that have been breached. We've sent our security people out for other governments that have been breached. And that could take a lot longer if a breach has actually happened. We have, now, if that needs to be adjusted, remember, we can waive it. So the question would be, is there really an issue here? We don't know. We thought we needed a number in there, though, just to protect us in case there's a prolonged effort and we need to make sure that we're compensated.
And I guess my other question is this per event of formal engagement? Is this
Yes.
annual? Is it?
Hopefully they don't have too many of those events in a given year. But if we get in there,
I don't know, I think
but if
we
we get
should
in there and do
anticipate.
some consulting and we do some work with them, hopefully they won't have future events. The problem you have is 80% of all these events are people related. They're not tech related. People get phished. They get other things that happen. Their credentials get out and get sold on the dark web. There is a website out there now where if you put your email address, it'll tell you how many times your email address has been hacked and your password and who has it. And we've looked at some of these.
And that's not a hacking event.
Well,
am I walking into a trap?
Well, what you should be doing is changing your password frequently. If you change your password frequently, then they can take it all they want. They can't get in. Remember, I talked about this before, the scenario. You're at a campfire with your friends and a bear runs in and you all run away. And the question is, do you have to be faster than the bear? And the answer is no. You have to be faster than the slowest person in your group. What you're doing by changing your password frequently is you're getting faster than the slowest people in the group. And I don't mean to leave those people out hanging, but hey, it's about protecting your personally identifiable information, your financial information, and that's pretty important. But we work with these communities a lot. And we do. We're on the phone with them all the time. But if we have to go in there and do an official engagement, we want to make sure we have a contract. They already have, many of them already have interlocal government agreements signed with us. This would just be an amendment to that agreement based on what we have.
And that was my last question. How many communities do we have this agreement? Or
As far as an interlocal with?
Yes.
The
Well,
majority
I
of
guess
them.
more specific, well, I guess how many communities are we actively engaging with
For
security? That's right.
security?
Yeah.
I don't think we've really had to actively go in and do a major security overhaul with anyone, but we're actively engaged with most of them via the phone. And Chris Burrows, our Chief Information Security Officer, I want him to consult with the local community, so he's doing that on a regular basis. So we're trying to engage as much as possible. They reach out to us. We don't know exactly. Oh, by the way, if we find something on the dark web, what I mean by that is Chris Burrows is trained to go out on the dark web and look for information. So we sent him to a conference to learn that. So he goes out on the dark web. That's where all the hackers are. And that's where they're selling your information around. He can actually go out there and see if our information's out there. And we actually found Oakland schools at one time, and we found some other communities, and we communicate with them immediately and let them know the information's been found. The MSISAC, which is with the Department of Homeland Security in Washington, D.C., does the same thing. So they'll call us if they find something on us. We then go look and find other things that are related to our communities, and we contact them directly. So we're doing that actively on a daily basis.
I just asked Chris, if you wouldn't mandate that we change our password, every 6 months or 3 months? It seems like it's 3 months, but I think it's...
It's 90 days. You're right. It's 3 months.
90 days, okay. Probably there isn't a commissioner that would change their password every 90 days.
The majority of our employees wouldn't change their passwords either.
So
that is one of the #1 ways to stay faster than the slowest people in the group. Is
Yeah.
because passwords right now are our identity. Now we're going to bring a project back to you in the coming months. It's called Identity Access Management, and we're going to change the way we do some of our identity access management here at the county. So we're going to bring that project forward, but we're always trying to chase that because they find new ways. So for instance, we have dual factor authentication now. For anybody internally that's doing work on our servers, they have to dual factor authenticate into the servers. Well, what that means is if you guys use your bank, you put your password in, then it calls your cell phone to see if it's really you, or it sends you an email or a text. We're doing that internally even. So we're constantly chasing the effort.
Okay. Modern technology sure helps a lot, but boy, it causes a lot of problems too. So, Helene?
Okay, one final assurance.
Sure.
So, again, the small communities, municipal budgets are strapped to the max. And I understand the need to put a number on of 8 hours, but I do hope you have the power to say, okay, I'm working with a small community. They might need 12. They can't afford that you can, flex as.
Well, the beautiful part of that is we're talking about the actual cost of the hourly rate. They couldn't get a cybersecurity consultant to walk in the door for $300-400. So when they look at the value of what they have, see, our job too is to educate. They have to understand the value and the concern that they should have for their electronic and digital information. So trust me, that when we're not talking about thousands of dollars here, but we're talking about the fact that if it's a long time, we wanted to be able to protect ourselves, and we would communicate that with the small government well before
and
that
they
would
would
happen.
have, just like you hire a plumber, they're going to say we're guesstimating 10 hours.
You got it right. Yep.
Okay.
Okay. Any other questions? If not, call the roll on item number 13.
Woodward?
Yes.
Bowman?
Yes.
Cowell? Yes. Zach?
Yes.
Long?
Yes.
Todd?
Yes.
Fleming?
Yes.
Crawford?
Yes.
Middleton?
Yes, motion
Thank you,
carried.
Commissioners.
Thank you. Next is item number 14, Department of Management Budget 2017, third quarter fiscal financial forecast and budget amendments. Need a motion. Cobb and Fleming. So, go ahead, Lynn.
It's hard to believe we're almost to actually year end, but this is the third quarter forecast. We are projecting favorability overall for the county's budget of $26.4 million. That is comprised of favorable revenue of about $9.5 million and favorable expenditures about $16.9 million. So the majority of the revenue favorability comes in the form of charges for services revenue, which we had our recent land sale auction. So we're projecting $5.6 million in favorable land sale activity. Those monies are restricted for a period of 2 years, and then they become available. So that's not necessarily available right away, but does add to our fund balance. And then there's also favorable activity within the clerk's office budget for land transfer tax and recording fees, as well as public telephone commission from the jail phone system of $600,000. So if you look at page 16, which is PDF 456 of the packet, that shows the departmental summary for all the various departments as where they stand budget to actual for the projected 2017 closing. We do have, as noted on page 2 or page 442 of your PDF packet, there are 3 departments that were on the list from the last quarter that are projected to be unfavorable compared to their budget. And that includes the sheriff's office, which continues to be an issue with overtime. However, we do have that favorability from the inmate phone system that should cover the majority of that. And we will be making a budget amendment at the end of the year if that trend continues. The Water Resource Commissioner, unfavorable, about $360,000, and they do have favorable revenue of about $406,000, so that's a budget amendment that can be made if those projections come true. And Facilities Management has about $9,000 of projected unfavorability because of the amount of projects that they're overseeing at this point. They do have about $6,000 of revenue favorability that covers the majority of that offset. So if this does continue, we will be able to make budget amendments with the year-end report to cover those balances. So again, we are expected to be favorable overall for the county of about $26.5 million. So that is better than we had projected using of $32.4 million of fund balance. We're not going to be using that. We expect only to use about $5.9 million based on this forecast. It's important to keep in mind that, as we discussed during the budget presentations, one of the things that is not included in any of our future budgets is the impact of indigent defense and what that will have an impact on our operating and capital needs. So we continue to watch that. There is a compliance plan that is being developed underway, and it's due to the state, I believe, November 20th. So that's an ongoing issue that we're continuing to watch. We do have a new item that we've included in, with, I think it was in July, I had a resolution 17194 that allowed grants to be accepted administratively that were under $10,000. So we did have 2 grants that are included in the resolution that were under $10,000 that we were able to accept administratively. And those are, that listing, it's included in the resolution and also can be found on page PDF number 502 of your packet. And with that, I'll be happy to answer any questions. that
Okay,
you might have.
Commissioner Wade.
Yeah, this is just a product of good conservative budgeting and we're anticipating that thing. That's what we plan for. I noticed the expenditure, we highlight the unfavorable here, and that's fine, but we actually have almost 17 million favorable in expenditures.
So we control the budget at the departmental level.
Okay.
So each department is responsible to maintain their budget within 3 categories: personnel, operating, internal support. So if those departments go over, then we have to make an amendment for those departments if need be.
Yeah, that's fine. I'm just wondering, I understand that. Just wondering, the 17 million favorable, what are the expenditures? What are the most favorable expenditures?
Personnel,
Personnel.
because we
Always.
budget.
Because we budget for full employment.
Correct.
And we're not. And that's going to happen year over year, and it's anticipated.
And we do account for that in the fiscal plan for the long-term projections.
We assume $1 million per year of turnover favorability in the long-term plan.
In the last couple of years, it's been about between $9 and $10 million for personnel within general fund, general purpose areas.
Thank you.
Okay. Commissioner Zach.
So on page 4 or 444, there is a whereas talking about a budget amendment for transferring funds from the Animal Control's Legacy Fund to the Animal Control's General Fund to cover expenditures in various line items. The original intent of the Legacy was supposed to be some special projects, and what are, you know, I was curious to say, what are they using that charitable fund for regular operations? Where are we falling short on budget?
So if you look at the actual amendment piece, it would be page 450 of the PDF packet. I'm sorry, hold on a second here. Page 448 of the PDF packet.
448.
So it's animal supplies, medical supplies, and metered postage. So we have made, on an annual basis, between about $30,000 to $55,000 on an annual basis to make these transfers to cover the operating costs within the animal control division. We have actually increased their budget in the past by about $55,000. So we're out of the general fund to further their operations. We have about $419,000 in the legacy fund now. That does not include the recent $25,000 donation that was receipted or acknowledged at the last meeting.
If I could remind you of some history too, and I don't have the exact resolution number, and I'm sure we could research that, but when Larry Obrecht was the manager.
He started it.
Do you remember? And he started this, and he brought a program expansion down to you that he intended to come from this funding source, and he did not want us to include it in the ongoing budget because he didn't trust management and budget, only use the amount that was needed. And so this was the process that we came up with and we agreed to, that we would review it on a quarterly basis and we would transfer only what we needed for that program expansion. So this is a continuation of that process that was approved by this board because he didn't want us to take the money out up front. He wanted us to take it out based on actual expenditures. And we agreed that we would go to the general fund budget first. And when that wasn't sufficient to cover it, then we would use this legacy fund to cover the difference. So that's what's going on.
Okay. Okay.
Okay. Thank you for explaining that. So is this something that we will continue doing with our new animal care center? When you talk about expansion, you know, what actual programs, and should this be revisited as we have a new animal care center and how we're doing
I
this?
think they're analyzing their needs right now, and Bob Gatt has been working closely with Human Resources and Fiscal Services and the administration on possible expansion, but a lot of what they're requesting would require an increase in the licensing fee. So I think what they're looking at now is looking at, the fiscal analyst has identified some areas where maybe there could be some cost savings, such as like purchase of food and that type of thing. So they're looking at those efficiencies to minimize the increase in the license cost that might be needed. So while the actual dollar amount is nominal, percentage-wise, they're trying to keep that increase down. So what we're suggesting is that they will get some efficiencies for moving into this new facility, is that they identify those efficiencies and perhaps increase the required fees, which have to be approved by this board incrementally, and increase the staffing needs incrementally, and so we have time to study and assess that. So we anticipate also that there should be a lot more resources available, like for greeting and things like that, with the use of volunteers. But they have to actually get in the facility. So they're working through all that, but right now their focus is moving the animals into the facility this month, and then identify what they need most urgently and bring a recommendation down to this board for a license increase, because I think those license fees have not been increased in 30 years or so, from what I understand. So that's the long range plan.
Well, I'm glad to hear we're looking at. I don't think going forward that this is the best operating thing, that we're dipping in that original agreement that we had. I think that we need to look at the legacy fund as a special projects initiative above and beyond the operations, rather than dipping into expanded services. That doesn't make sense to me going forward.
Some of those donations were donated in mind, thinking that it would be used towards the facility, which we funded all out of county resources. So,
but there's,
yeah.
but there, you know, more events, hiring a volunteer person, building a volunteer corps, you know, expanding. I can see those are one time we're getting it going. That makes sense to me to use that versus.
I agree.
So, thank you.
Lori, do you have any idea when Obrick put a resolution in? I would say 4 or 5 years ago,
No,
maybe.
longer than that. I want to say it's probably 8 years ago or so.
I think it's longer.
Yeah.
Okay.
I think it's longer.
Yeah. I asked Mike to look at that
longer.
resolution when the proposal comes
I'm starting to forget, because in November, I have been here 39 years, and so 8 years seems like 1 year to
Yeah,
me.
okay. Yeah. But when the proposal comes through to, if it's to raise the dog license, we should also look at that resolution at the same time. So, and we got it. So, yes, Commissioner Top.
I have the same old pet peeves I've had for some period of time. On 519 of our thing, or 79 of your thing, we still have a considerable sum left that we have to write off on community development block grants. Now, I remember when it was $1 million and it just blew me all apart. But I'm not quite certain how first of all, we don't know where these homes are located. We don't have any names. Why has that been changed?
They removed it to protect the identity of those individuals, so it wouldn't be published. But that information is available from Community Home Improvement if you would want that.
I would like to have
you.
that. That's number one. But number two, I understand what we're doing, and I get it.
It's for the short sales to prevent the abandonment of the home and to prevent blight. So it's hard to close on a short sale without the expedited process that you approved. So that's why this change in process was presented to the commissioners that you guys had approved, so that people, if they couldn't do the short sale, they would basically vacate and would become a foreclosure, which
Yeah.
would have a more negative impact.
Yeah, and I understand that. But I think somehow or other, and Wade and I and Dave sit on that committee, okay? Maybe we're not using the proper process. when we vet people, I want people to have roofs and furnaces and stuff like that. But maybe there's some source of funding where they don't have to pay it back, because they can't pay it back anyhow. So who are we trying to fool? Does that make sense to you or not?
I think these are good questions for you to ask of Carrie Reed. I'm not
Okay.
intimately involved with how they vet people, and so most of these people, I think, probably have income limitations anyway. That's why they're
Right.
eligible for the funding. So I really think you need, especially if you're on the advisory council, you should
We
probably
are.
bring this up with Carrie Reed.
Yeah, and that might be a good thing to bring up. I have another thing as well. On page 520, which would be 521, I'm sorry, which would be 81 in your thing. We have a whole bunch of write-offs, not a lot of money, but it's the golf courses. Have we done any training there so that they take enough identification, so if someone's check bounces or their credit card is no good, that, and then it also says that they can write up to $1,000 or whatever, I don't know. That's
in the General Appropriations Act, that anything over 1,000 requires a separate resolution to bring to the board.
Right.
But these are items that they've pursued, and they work with Corporation Counsel before they finally have to determine that it's not worth the effort to try to.
Oh, I don't disagree with that, Lynn. My point is, somebody walks up and buys a round of golf and a bunch of golf carts and whatever else they can.
Probably for the banquet facility rentals.
Greens fees and a cart.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Camping. I don't know how that.
Camping. So my question is, I know it's a small amount of money. It's still money that belongs to this county and to the taxpayers of the county. So my question is somebody being trained properly and getting identification at these places?
All cash handlers are required to go through cash handling training.
That's correct.
But apparently they're not following.
No, this is credit cards, they probably go through and then come back and they've got it. We have a business too, sometimes they go through and you'll get a statement that's saying, hey, if you can't charge it and you're out.
I understand that. But along with the credit card, are they getting some more ID, like a driver's license?
So they do about $10 million in sales a year at the parks. And actually, one of the things that's being reviewed by HR now and going through our budget task force and will be presented in the near future for the Board of Commissioners is to add a separate dedicated part-time auditor for Parks and Rec to help them with analyzing their business processes and
Good.
And
Thank
improving
you.
the situation.
That's kind of like what I'm looking at now, because if they do $10 million, this is nothing. I'm not disagreeing with it, but it could evolve into something. It could be the same person taking the cash, or the checks or whatever it may be. So.
And they do have a lot of part-time seasonal help, so that come and go, and that
yeah, I get
probably
it. I
contributes
get
to
it
as well.
But it could evolve into something much bigger.
If I could mention.
Sorry.
It would be great if you had unlimited resources to catch everything, but some of the general auditing principles are that you have to look at the return on investment for what you spend for internal control versus what the benefit is. So I'm sure they're following county's practices, but.
And actually, they have they have detailed policies and procedures at parks for their cash handling and other procedures
and
as well.
auditing does audit them, but as Lynn mentioned, they want increased attention, and so they're going to fund an auditor position.
Okay, next is Commissioner Woodward, but you have to remember that Commissioner Taub one time seen this list of bad checks and went out and collected on some.
There was one for $5 before, and we did collect on it, yes.
Okay, Commissioner Woodward.
We got their names. Shelley's on the on the one. Yeah, I think.
Go ahead. Yeah.
Lori already brought my point. I mean, we in the scheme of things, we're talking $157. I wouldn't want to be spending a lot more than that to get that a little bit. And so I defer to Parks extra auditing to do other things, but if that means that I'm doing less park and recreation, like I can swallow $157. With all the transactions, this is not it's not ridiculous. It's not, the return on investment argument, I think, is something we should always be looking at. I know, right?
Okay. So,
I get more bad than that.
Yeah.
We don't make anywhere near 10 million.
okay, is there any other questions on item number 14? If not, call the roll on item number 14.
Bowman?
Yes.
Cowell?
Yes.
Zach?
Yes.
Long?
Yes.
You know what the date
Todd?
of our
Yes.
next meeting?
Fleming?
Yes.
Crawford?
Yes.
Woodward?
Yes.
Middleton?
Yes, motion carried. Is there any other business to come before the Finance Committee? If not, we're adjourned until October 5th. Oh, yes, wait.
We have a Safe Drinking Water for Schools Initiative Subcommittee meeting right after this one.
Okay, so then I'll move out of this seat and you can move in. So, okay, meeting's adjourned without, if without objection, meeting adjourned.